Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalram, and there's only two things that are on my mind. One of them is BFA with all the allied races and the patch updates and just the whole new experience, hopefully some PvP changes. The other half of my excitement that has been for World of Warcraft is World of Warcraft Classic. I was not one of the lucky few that get to experience the original WoW vanilla, and I would love to go back and experience it. Even though it won't be as good as the first time for a lot of people, I still think this will be great, and I'm super excited to get into it as soon as it comes out. Whenever it's going to be, maybe 2018, 2019. One of the things that people have been talking about is what changes, if any, should the game be re-released with. Some people are saying that maybe the game needs to be a little sprucing up, maybe it needs some kind of LFG system, maybe pet battles. And then the other side believes that the game should be fully vanilla. The way it was released, bugs and all, should be re-released as such and fixed only if the majority of the community want it. But for the most part, the game should be as vanilla as it comes. While doing some digging, I found a forum post on MMO Champion displaying a list that they believe most people would be happy with, a list of adjustments that majority of the community, old and new, would be happy with if this was implemented into vanilla WoW. This type of question and even discussion is a really slippery slope, because I feel that if you make too many changes in the game, you ruined the wholesomeness of it. So this is really just something that the community is super divided on. But in today's video, I want to take a look at this list and give you guys my thoughts, whether I like it or not, and you guys can follow along and write in the comment section all your thoughts about this list, whether you think these changes should make it into the game vanilla re-release, or whether they should just sit on the sidelines and just not make an appearance. So without further ado, let's get to the listing. The first thing on the list is PvE retuning, and before you say, hell no, don't change my PvE, check this out. This is what they're talking about. They're talking about patch 1.12 talent trees and all the class changes of back in the day, the itemization, and the fact that there was simply not enough information to go around back then in order to figure out how to play your class properly, how to make the greatest possible build. With the current technology we have right now, the database and systems, you literally can go on Wowhead and find so much information, so many guides. With the way that the gamers have evolved now, if you were to take add-ons into consideration, proper builds, perfect itemization, perfect stat bases, you would have a broken system, as some people can, in this day and age, take advantage of so many mechanics that nobody even thought of back in vanilla. So for them to rebalance PvE for your current player with all the things being added would be similar to what Elysium tried to do back in the day. It is the same idea for their AQ40 and Naxxramas. They understood that you are dealing with a whole nother beast of a player, not quite a full vanilla player with no add-ons, clicking all your abilities, have no idea what your rotation should be, and kind of just moving along. So they're thinking maybe balancing in PvE for your next generation player might be a little bit better, because we can all agree a lot of us have improved, whether through add-ons or whether through doing a lot more theory crafting and simming for a character, and I feel like those tools would be almost game breaking for a game like vanilla. The next part on the list is a population cap, and this one is very simple. In the old days, you could get a cap of about 2,500 players. Currently on Legion, we have anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 population cap on servers. A server like Nostaria's had a 13,000 cap, and it made a complete madness for the server, whether it was the server lag and just the amount of people that were on there and some technical issues that people were running into. So they're saying maybe make the population cap of similar to Legion, where it's between 4,000 and 6,000. I mean, they could go the madness of like 13,000 on a single server, but for server stability, like reducing lag, and overall allowing people to make communities where there's enough players but not too many, might be not that bad of an option. And I feel like this kind of thing wouldn't actually ruin your immersion with the game, as you're simply increasing how many people are on there. You're just not having the number as low during the release, but you're not also having it as high as some of the private servers have done in the past. Overall, this list so far has been pretty good, and the first 2 points I'm not really quite sure if I am agreeing with, but I do like the ideas. I'm not sure if that'll be an easy implementation. That is my only concern. Just how easy and seamless would this be implemented in the game? If this doesn't feel seamless, I don't know if I would actually want these kind of changes, but these are the only issues that I'm kind of on the fence on. Let's move on with the rest of the list. No Battlegrounds at the launch for World of Warcraft Classic, and this is something that I am actually behind. So originally with World of Warcraft, before the idea of Battlegrounds, especially in WoW Classic, you didn't have BGs. You had world PvP areas where people would meet up. And if you are trying to rekindle that world PvP feeling that people had way back in the day, I think the best way to do it is to remove instances for PvP, but rather make the world your oyster, make the world the place where you go to PvP on. And I think that would be a great idea. It'll force players to interact with each other in the world. And of course, it'll be one of the situations where, let's say, Jimmy gets ganked outside of a dungeon, Jimmy calls some friends, they gank the gankers call their friends, and now you have this huge army of Horde and Alliance fighting for zones, and then you get Terror Mill 2.0. And the best part about this, back in vanilla they had South Shore versus Terror Mill, but I can only imagine so many other places where players could just get together and just fight each other out in the world. Eventually you would want to introduce BGs as maybe a patch update, so while everybody, let's say, is leveling at the very beginning, eventually they might feel like, okay, the leveling grind is kind of coming to an end, or maybe they got to max level and there's just not a lot of content, and then BGs get introduced and more players surge back in the game and they continue playing BGs, and then you add in an honor system. I feel like that kind of stuff would be enough to be like, take the game incrementally, let players enjoy what vanilla was all about, then introduce the systems that the game back in the day eventually introduced as well. This next one is more on the technical side, but the idea of implementation of authenticators and such, and maybe integrating WoW Classic into the Blizzard app. Very, very general idea. And I don't know, yeah, why not? I mean, I would want my account to be safe. Authenticator is a great service that we're using right now, and to integrate into the Blizzard app would just make it that much easier for you to find it. Yeah, that one I think is a no-brainer, and I would be surprised if somebody really didn't want this to be a feature. Of course, this one's gonna happen. Removal of old game-breaking bugs, glitches, and exploits. Maybe like a glitch where somebody is invincible and they just cannot die, or some kind of a glitch where you just have one-shot capability, or maybe put a major dot that spreads from players to players on a pet. You then go and dismiss the pet, run into the main capital city, put the pet out, and now you got the bubonic plague spreading all over the place. Stuff like this, like game breaking stuff that actually ruins your experience. Not your authentic vanilla experience, but rather just playing the game and making it impossible for you to play, let alone enjoy it. Those kind of bugs I think would be completely okay to take out of the game and clean them up. The game didn't finish, didn't get packaged perfectly, didn't come in ready to order, ready to play off the bat, and I feel like some of those things definitely have a place to, you know, be removed into the trash can where it belongs. Again, you're trying to keep the authentic vanilla experience, but unless you count bugs and annoying features that are quote-unquote features but actually just parts that block you off from enjoying the game, I don't know how I feel about that. Now, the next one is going to be a little bit weird, and I don't know how I feel about it, but this one could be maybe controversial depending on how you look at it. Dynamic mob respawn. Basically, the person's talking about Nostarius and taking another page out of the private server from way back in the day, and talking about mobs and respawn rate. Some mobs way back in the day respawned literally every hour, so if you weren't there and didn't get to the mob in time, it literally took you an hour before the mob was even seen by anybody else again. So that whole system made it a little bit harder for some people to quest, let alone get on with their questing experience. And this one is a little weird, because part of the joy that was vanilla World of Warcraft, I think, was the difficulty of how often mobs respawn. I feel like part of the things that made it awesome is, you know, being that guy that has a keen eye, as soon as you see the mob, if you're the first one to tag it, if you're the first one to make the move, I guess in a way there's a little bit of that minor prestige, even just within the questing side of the story. I don't know how I feel about this one. This one, on one hand, could be one of those things that, let's say there's a bunch of players trying to get a mob, a lot of those players can actually get through the content instead of having to wait there for literally an hour for a mob to respawn, or having to log on a different day, would of course facilitate more player-friendly type of environment, more current player type of friendly environment. And also at the same time, if you add the system, you're removing a small charm out of vanilla World of Warcraft. So on this one, I'm kind of yes and a no. I don't want to say I'm on the fence, as I do agree with the idea, but I'm looking at the idea of, will this take away from the game? So it's really, I'm saying yes, I agree, but still a question lies. Will this detract from the core game? And I'm still not quite sure because, again, I want it to be as vanilla as it comes. Now, the next one is being able to report people like gold sellers and any possible cheaters or offenders of sorts with a more modern reporting system. I think that one is pretty straightforward, and I actually would be okay with it, because let's say that somebody is a gold seller. You don't want servers to be populated by a bunch of gold sellers, because then it ruins the economy. It kind of ruins the fun of the game. It ruins the profession classes, and professions were really important back in the day. The auction house was a lot more important back in vanilla, as the value of gold was even more important. In current WoW, the value of gold is equal to dollars on the Blizzard balance, but that's really as far as it goes. Back in vanilla gold, you could have bought a lot. You could have bought your Swift mount, your first Swift mount, and gold meant a lot more. So this one, of course, I think is a no-brainer. Definitely agree with a ban or a report system that is more modern. Now this last one is, I feel like it's okay. I feel you guys telling me. I could see why people wouldn't like this. But giving players the ability to change around between modern and old graphics. Like, imagine playing World of Warcraft vanilla, but with Legion graphics. The amount of grass, the colors, the new player models, the casting animations, but you're still playing vanilla World of Warcraft. And for Blizzard, something like this would technically be very easy and possible to implement, since that is their game. It's not a private server, it is their game. This one, a lot of people are going to be a little bit weird about, because part of playing vanilla World of Warcraft, like let's say, for example, transmogs, there was no such thing. You enjoyed the look of your gear, because if you got a certain piece of gear, everybody else can see, oh, look at this high warlord kind of guy. And it was a lot more prestigious. When it comes to the old graphics, it really comes down to your personal appearance, what you see versus what other people see. It doesn't actually change the gameplay. It doesn't change how other people view your character. It only changes how you view the game. And if you want to turn off the new graphics for older, that's fine. But I think new graphics are not always bad. Take a game like Oblivion, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. It's a classic game, and I've been watching a little bit of it on Twitch, mostly from Dan's Gaming, because Lyric isn't really streaming right now. But I've been watching Dan's Gaming play a little bit of Oblivion. And this game was my childhood, man. It's such a good game. It has such great mechanics. It is beautiful. It's a little wonky, and the NPC's dialogues are a little bit silly sometimes. But it's such a solid game, and I enjoyed it better in some cases than Skyrim. I thought it was superior. But that game is pretty dated. If you ever try to play an old school game that you enjoyed back in the day, but the graphics turn you off, I would say you're not the only one. I've been affected by this in the past as well. Sometimes old graphics just make it a lot harder to get behind the game, and sometimes they might even kill your immersion. And that's kind of how the feeling I had for Oblivion. Thank God there's mods, but there's no mods that make them look like as good as Skyrim. Skyrim is a damn good looking game, but Oblivion, in terms of the actual mechanics and the quests, was definitely superior. So I feel like if you're adding the mechanics of vanilla World of Warcraft, which some people, or a lot of people, consider superior, but then you have the pretty graphics of a new age WoW, I don't think there's an issue with it whatsoever, because it really does come down to player preference. But of course, I think this one is going to really ruffle some people's feathers. Completely okay. If you don't think that should be a thing, let me know in the comments below why you don't think so. And with that, I'm going to leave the video off here. You guys are more than welcome to comment on every single one of these pieces of lists if you like it or if you don't like it, and explain why. So far, I think this list is pretty good. I am, for the most part, a-okay with everything. I'm on the fence on two things, and I'm not sure about the dynamic mob spawn, but that might be actually a really good idea. I'm just still not quite 100% sure. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it likes. If you want to see more stuff like this, go ahead and give this video a like. Giving videos likes allows them to reach a wider audience. If you guys want more content on World of Warcraft Classic, or even discussion videos like these, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more and want to catch more streams, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification button next to the subscribe button down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.